Hi, it's Alexa and welcome to my secret flower forest. This is the best year yet in my garden, and I want to share ways I have made this garden into a repeat show year after year, making the soil stronger, organically fertilizing everything, and collecting nature's bounty and encouraging wildlife. So follow along with ways I've decorated and planted and the joys I'm finding in my garden this year, and get inspired for your own garden. I just love these chairs, and they are 1950s classics that I found in a dumpster. I found this vase and these Tiffany style candle holders also in a dumpster. So right here we have our latest little project, and this is a little fountain that my husband helped make. And what it involves is a tub, just a storage tub that we had, and I realized the blue plastic tub is not the greatest thing in the world, but it's just a storage tub. And then he took some scrap wood and built a square box around it, as you can see. And then I simply put in a pump and attached it to my little fish, which I stood on a pot that I had. And this pot, like so many things in my garden, this pot right here was a street find. Somebody was throwing it away, and it's one of those fake cement pots, but I still like it. It's very sculptural. This is just something that I bought probably a couple of years ago, and I thought I would put it there. Now this item, another thing that I found on the street, and then this is a bird cage holder, and I've had that for many years. So one thing that I find in my garden is, especially when I'm in a more frugal mode, I have had incredible results finding cuttings. I intentionally planted this Norfolk pine along with this, I think it's kind of like a New Guinea impatient, something like that. I intentionally put both of these in a pot. Again, this is a pot that I happened to find on the street. Oh, actually, this is this is dead, but this is a plant that I often kill, which is a maidenhair fern, which does grow natively here in California, but it usually gets killed by pests in my garden. But the funny thing about this pot is, I was at Home Depot and they were throwing away stuff. So a lot of what I have this year in my garden is the result of collecting things out of the garbage at Home Depot. I can't tell you when they'll do it, but if you ever happen to be there and see them cleaning out their stuff, you are free to take all of those pots. This Norfolk pine can get to be a giant tree, and I already have enough giant trees. In fact, every giant tree in my garden is one that I planted myself. This pond is filled with a bog plant that is just doing wonderfully. So because it has begun to invade this pond, that's why I stopped having the fountain in here, because the fountain was constantly clogging. And another fun thing is, in this pond there is this beautiful small lily pad. This right here is another geranium, and this was another item that it's a cutting that I got around the neighborhood, and it's done really, really well. This geranium as well is from the free bin at Home Depot. This is my little mariachi that was purchased in Mexico, and I just love him. This table and chair, found it on the street. Used to be 2 chairs, but my kids broke one of them, so now it's just 1 chair. Here's another plant. I believe this is South African type of iris, and this was a neighbor's cutting many years ago, and now it has become very successful. Here is a little hanging basket, and as you can see, I put the other maidenhair ferns from the Home Depot garbage pile here, where hopefully snails are not going to be able to find them because they're hanging in the basket off of a tree. And I might start to do some more hanging baskets now that the garden has become so successful. Japanese maple, but these have done wonderfully, and usually what I try to do is prune them in such a way that they become artistic. Let's turn to the chickens. Chickens are a wonderful part of a garden ecosystem. They are so funny and silly, but my piece of advice with chickens is we're on an urban city lot, and we currently just have 2. The other 2 have died of age, but chickens will quickly denude your lot of any vegetation. They will eat everything. So you do not want to have too many chickens. So for us, 4 chickens was quite capable of doing a lot of damage. Now what we've finally done, and this is another tip for making the garden better, what we've finally done is created a fence. So the chickens, when I take them out, they are in the backyard. They do not destroy the front yard, because they would eat everything down to nubs if they had free reign of the front yard. Plus, when you do have 4 chickens walking around, like I said, we did for a few years, the amount of chicken poop is also quite disturbing. This poor plant suffered a lot and basically almost died because of abuse from the dogs. But now what I did is I moved it, and I put pots around it where nobody could step on it or bother it. Plus, this year, one of the things I attribute the garden looking great to is the fact that my husband made some great fences per my request to finally keep dogs out of the front yard. So that's made a wonderful difference. It's been an incredible year for roses. We've had a lot of water. One of the things that I do is mix vines together, and here we have 2 kinds of roses plus clematis. I might want to get another fancier clematis. There's a Henry clematis. It's giant white flowers like the size of a dinner plate. This is epazote, and you will see a lot of this, and I have more and more herbs growing in the garden. This is another plant that is doing very well. It's a New Guinea impatiens. It's got beautiful red flowers. Succulent that I found in a bag on the street. Here's another few succulents with some snapdragons. This is from a nursery crib mattress. And eventually, I was using it as a dog bed, and the dogs destroyed it, which they like to do. And then I painstakingly got all of the cloth off of it and used it as a small fence in the garden, and the plants have now grown through it. This here is, again, a plant somebody gave to me, and it was coming into the pathway, and everybody kept on hitting it, and so I came upon the solution of putting a pot just underneath it, wedging it underneath the plant. One of the things that I'm enjoying now is this idea of my food/flower forest. Is with the food, we often waste it. However, we do not waste this. This is epazote, which is a wonderful herb, Mexican herb, used in beans, and it's so delicious. You can also make a pesto with it, like basil. Use it in place of basil. And so it has naturalized at this point, and it's everywhere. Tomatoes have also naturalized in my garden, so there are a lot of tomatoes just volunteer popping up. There's also new lettuce that I sowed recently. Then here's a fun thing you can do. If you have romaine lettuce that you buy in a pack, you can just take it and put it back in the ground, and it will grow from the nub. Here is a cactus. This is also this is nopal, and this is invasive, so that's why I have it in a pot. One of the principles with our garden that we've done is divide everything into rooms. Divide these small spaces into rooms, and that's really worked to create a lot of space out of something that previously looked pretty monotone and small. So it's made my property bigger, dividing it up in this way. And so this fence, for example, that my husband made, is doing a wonderful job of keeping the chickens in the backyard when I let them out so that they don't destroy the front yard. So let's look at some of my soil conservation efforts. So here's our finished compost. This compost is made with horse droppings that I get from a nearby stable. And this compost has it has the straw from the chickens, and the newest thing that I'm trying to get people to do, that I just learned about, is peeing on the compost, and having people occasionally remember to come out here and pee on it, or just collect pee in a bucket and then put it on the compost. That puts pure nitrogen and potassium into the compost and speeds up the process. But the sign of a healthy compost pile is heat. Yeah, I just turned it this morning, so it's probably not going to heat up again until tomorrow. One of the things that I started to do last year, was I got 2 rain barrels from Home Depot. Now that is the very last of the rain that we have collected over the year. I moved this barrel over here to drain it. But what I would love to have is a gray water system. However, well, first of all, I'm not sure they're legal here, and also it's fairly complicated. But storing rainwater is great, and you don't have to do it with these types of things. Unfortunately, my dog ate the faucet. I've got some mint growing here. And the thing is, I just sort of let all the plants coexist and fight it out. It's kind of what I do. Oh, this is a fun thing. These guys are amaryllis, giant amaryllis. And so this one, and this one are all babies of this one. And propagating amaryllis is really interesting. You have to wait until it gives a flower that goes to seed, and then you have to float the dried seed pods on water. And those seed pods, a few of them will sprout. When they sprout, you plant them. And these guys did bloom, however, the slugs had a field day, and I have not set out beer traps or anything, and I haven't used any chemicals, so the slugs just destroyed the blossoms. One thing that I've really enjoyed is how many pollinators I'm getting this year because of the flowers. So, you know, even if we're not growing that much food that we're eating, we are definitely growing food for the pollinators. Give the birds places to splash around, and you will be surprised at how many visitors you have in your garden. Now that my chickens are more corralled, I love to use nasturtium, which self-sows, as sort of a unifying cover throughout the garden. This plant here has just done so incredibly well, and it's often used for tropical effects, and as you can see, with good reason. There's some baby oranges. Obviously those take the whole year to mature, and then they're ready in the winter. And then here are Thompson seedless grapes. Right now the backyard could use some love, and I've spent so much time on the front yard that I've ignored the backyard. But this is a sword fern that I've had since I was a child, and this is the light. You can see the project, the dollar store light. It still turns on. My newest thing is realizing that things that you have inside the house you can pull out and put outside, and you will both declutter inside, you'll save yourself money on garden decor. This playhouse needs to be revisited and recreated as the children are now grown, but it's truly probably one of the most beautiful things that my husband ever built. And I would love to sort of find a new use for it. This is an old rose, and I just love that it's, you know, a different type. My mother bought me this one. So there you have it. I suggest getting started with compost. It's so magical. Find cuttings and see where they take off. Experiment with plants and see what does well in your garden before you go and spend a lot of money on stuff that may not survive. Find things on the street and put them to good use, and create outdoor rooms that divide up your space into distinct living areas. How is your garden doing? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Bye.